Hello everyone, Ace here, and today let's talk a little bit more about the Paris 2024 Olympics opening ceremony. Because you see, there have been some conspiracy theories flying around surrounding that particular ceremony. Conspiracy theories that have, for the record, been thoroughly discredited, thanks to the words of the people that produced the opening ceremony for Paris 2024. But for those of you who are not aware, well, it turns out that the progressive activist crowd has spent the past few days trying to push the conspiracy theory that the opening ceremony for Paris 2024 did not include a gay and trans reimagining of Leonardo Da Vinci's The Last Supper. Instead, according to the conspiracy theory, this image was meant to depict the Feast of the Gods, and instead of Jesus, the figure in the middle is supposed to represent Helios, the ancient Greek god that represents the sun. And there's also the question of the blue man, which represents another Greek god, namely Dionysus, a scene which the director of the event said was not inspired by the Last Supper. So clearly there is absolutely zero inspiration from the Last Supper whatsoever, at least according to the conspiracy theory. So clearly I should not be able to produce any proof whatsoever that the Olympics opening ceremony was inspired by Da Vinci's The Last Supper. So let's move on to this article from The Wrap, simply titled, Paris Olympics producers say The Last Supper inspired that opening ceremony scene. Many have done it before. This article, written by one Stephanie Calloy on July the 28th of 2024, which provides the following information. A Paris Olympics opening ceremony scene reminiscent of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper continued to stir controversy Sunday as Paris 2024 producers and the ceremony's designer Thomas Joly released separate, apparently opposing statements on where it drew its inspiration. The scene in question featured a line of drag performers posing shoulder to shoulder on a Parisian bridge before turning the bridge into a fashion-forward catwalk. Later, those same queens celebrated over a meal where the dish was revealed to be a nearly nude man painted blue. Many, including Joly and the official Olympics Games X account, said that the scene is an interpretation of the Greek god Dionysus that makes us aware of the absurdity of violence between human beings. Others, including a statement from Paris 2024 producers obtained by The Wrap Sunday, said that it was in fact inspired by Da Vinci's famous painting, a skewing of the religious imagery that has been slammed by the Christian right as a mockery of Jesus Christ. Quote, for the festivity segment, Thomas Joly took inspiration from Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting to create the setting, unquote, producers said in the statement. Quote, clearly there was never an intention to show disrespect towards any religious group or belief. Joly is not the first artist to make a reference to what is a world-famous work of art. From Andy Warhol to The Simpsons, many have done it before him, unquote. So clearly someone is lying here, either the producers or the director. Well, there is, believe it or not, actually an answer to this particular predicament, though the lie that is presented here is being done in an admittedly clever way. To explain what exactly is happening here, allow me to move on to the words of Laura Powell, who stated on Twitter, quote, apologies to those who are tired of hearing about the controversy of the Last Supper scene from the Paris 2024 Olympic opening ceremonies last Friday. I wouldn't still be talking about it if it weren't for the fact that some smart people are falling for the gaslighting campaign that started as a response to the outrage. The bottom line is that it is a fact, not an opinion, that the scene was intended to reference Leonardo da Vinci's painting depicting the Last Supper, with drag queens in place of the disciples. First of all, let's make clear the scene I'm referring to. It's a scene with an obese woman wearing a halo headdress in the middle, with a variety of drag queens on each side. This was presented 1 hour and 55 minutes into the broadcast of the opening ceremonies. That tableau is the one that is a parody of The Last Supper. Some are creating confusion by showing a different scene that was presented at the same location about 45 minutes later. You can see from the darkness of the sky in the photo that some time has passed since the Last Supper scene. When you hear the argument that the scene was meant to represent Dionysus, who is essentially the Greek god of partying, they are referring to that scene with the blue man. There was much talk about that scene as well because many found it grotesque, but it was not the one that referenced the Last Supper. Let's go back for a moment moment to the words of the ceremony's director, Thomas Jolly, who said, quote, "It's not my inspiration and that should be pretty obvious. There's Dionysus arriving on a table. Why is he there? First and foremost because he is the god of celebration in Greek mythology and the tableau is called festivity." Those of you who are eagle-eyed may be noticing what is happening. Mr. Jolly is in fact lying by omission here. This is because Mr. Jolly's comments are about the Blue Man scene itself specifically, whereas the scene that was 40 minutes prior in the ceremony is a representation of the Last Supper, is oh so conveniently ignored by Mr. Jolly in the hopes that you forget about it too. What Mr. Jolly has effectively done here is like claiming that you did not take cookies out of the cookie jar, while failing to bring up the fact that half an hour prior you did in fact take cookies out of the cookie jar. With this context in mind, it's very easy to see how Mr. Jolly is being dishonest in his claims. And to further drive home the point that Mr. Jolly is the one being dishonest, let's look at a few more pieces of evidence provided by Miss Powell, shall we? As Miss Powell also states, quote, "On Saturday, Damen Gabic, one of the writers of the opening ceremonies, was asked in an interview with Public Broadcasting Network, France Inter, whether the Last Supper scene on a bridge with queers was intended to make a statement about everyone living together. He did not hesitate to respond absolutely, with no confusion about the scene the interviewer was referencing." Miss Powell also goes over the Paris producer's statement, so rather than going over that again, I'm going to skip ahead one paragraph, where she also states, quote, "Participants in the performance publicly made the connection to the Da Vinci painting themselves. The man who designed the halo worn in the scene posted an image comparing the painting with the tableau, which was reposted by the woman who depicted Jesus, who goes by the name of Barbara Butch. She also reposted a post that referred to her as Olympic Jesus, as well as one that defended the parody, pointing out there was no outcry to prior parodies. Credit to @RealTStevenson for collecting screenshots in a thread before the posts were deleted." So it's not just the producers of Paris 2024 who are openly contradicting Mr. Jolly's claim, but also some of the writers, actresses, and costume designers as well. There is more evidence in this article tweet, including more admissions from some of the other staff that yes, this was meant to depict the Last Supper, but I believe by now you've well and truly got the point. The fact is that the conspiracy theory that Paris 2024's opening ceremony was never meant to depict the Last Supper is simply a demonstrably false conspiracy theory. Unfortunately, it is one that is making the rounds, and has resulted in some individuals who should know better drinking the Kool-Aid, such as, for example, Short Fat Otaku, who actually had to upload his video on the topic twice because he got a copyright strike from the Olympics, meaning that he presented this particular piece of misinformation to the public not once but twice before getting called out by his own audience. Though, unfortunately, I do have to be that guy in this particular case and point out that the claim that the tableau is literally titled The Last Supper on the stage on the River Seine is quite likely not actually true, as there has been no hard evidence to prove that this is in fact the actual title of that particular tableau. Though again, considering the rest of the evidence that I have provided and is verifiable, that is a tidbit that is in no way actually decisive in this matter. It's still very clear that yes, the Last Supper was indeed parodied during the opening Olympics ceremony. Now, of course, for those curious, I will of course be leaving a link in the description below to the Laura Powell tweet article, so you can check it out for yourself if you should so desire. I will also, of course, endeavor to continue to keep my ear to the ground and keep you all informed should any more news come. But in any case, this has been Ace. Hope to see you guys again soon. Take care. Ace out.